Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday evening in Conversations with Coach. I hope you all have had a great week. It's a short week, but nevertheless, I hope you all have had a great week. And I thought about something earlier today that I did not do last Wednesday, and I can't believe I did this. I did not brag about my Georgia Bulldogs being the national champions. Shame on me. 40 years in the making, and I missed an opportunity to brag on them. What is wrong with me? It's still not too late because 40 years is a long time, and we're going to be bragging for a really long time. So if you are not a Georgia fan, I'm sorry. You're going to be tired of me talking about my Bulldogs because guess what? We national champions. Yes, we are. And I live in Athens and I used to cheer for the Bulldogs. So, yes, I'm going to give them their props. So, let's clap it up for my Bulldogs. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you again for joining me tonight here on Conversations with Coach. And boy, oh boy, do I have the guest for you tonight. We all have heard about it being a seller's market when it comes to buying a home, right? This is true. And if your community is like my community, the housing market is mind blowing. I know with my home that the amount of value that I have in it now, I'm sitting on a gold mine. I'm happy right about now. But if you are in the market to purchase a home, you might not feel that way. And you might be thinking, well, golly, how can I break into this? Or is now the right time to break into it? Interest rates are creeping back up. I'm a first time homeowner. Am I going to be able to afford to buy a home? Hey, I'm selling my home because I want to take advantage of it. What's the best way to do that? You are tuning in for the right show today because I have just the person who's going to be able to answer those questions and many more. I have that person in the person of Tania Tinsley Little. She is a successful real estate and professional home stager and designer. You heard me correctly, a home stager. And if you have never heard of what that is, you're going to learn about it tonight. She runs two distinctly yet separately and completely different business under one brand, and it is called the Total Package. That's right, the Total Package. What is that? It is a residential real estate business and a home staging and design business, all under one umbrella. Tania is a real estate broker and realtor, and she helps clients throughout the Triangle area. And if you're not familiar with that, she's from the Raleigh-Durham area, and they call that the Triangle. And she helps them with selling, buying, leasing, and investing in real estate. She's also a staging and design business, as I mentioned. And what she does with that is she helps homeowners and real estate agents and builders stage their existing homes, vacant homes, and new construction homes. And staging, in case you were wondering, is the process of prepping any home for sale, regardless of the price, the location, the condition, or age of the property. Now, I can go on and on and on about her, but that's just going to delay and take away her time. Let me not do that. Go ahead and fill up the chat with hearts and lights, and let's welcome our special guest, Miss Tania Tinsley Little. Hello, hello, hello.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and engaging us in a great conversation that we are about to have about staging our homes to sell. And as I mentioned, all the other questions that are going to be coming in, I am sure. So, listening audience, get your questions ready for Miss Tania as it relates to the subject of selling your home, staging your home, or whatever it might be. And as I mentioned in your introduction, you have an umbrella of a business that falls under the Total Package. Tell our listeners and our viewers who will be viewing this a little bit later, a little bit more about the Total Package.
Well, the total package, when I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, I started my real estate career back in 2007 as the market crashed. Good time to start. And how there were all kind of houses on the market, right? Nobody could sell a house. And so one of my very first listings was in our what we call inside the belt line, and the seller had been trying to sell her home for about a year and a half. Couldn't sell it. She had an agent, then she was trying to sell it by herself. So I used to call on for sale by owners, and I called her one day and asked her about, I wanted to see her home, but obviously I wanted the listing. So long story short, I got the listing. She needed some help with the presentation of that house. It was a little strange. The floor plan was a little strange the way she had it decorated. We set it up. She and I moved furniture. I called a repair person in. I didn't have staging inventory at that time, but I had a few things. And we put the house on the market, and it sold within 12 days for 98% of list price. And this was 2008. That's when I knew there was something to staging. And from that point on, I started to acquire inventory and put it away and use it for my listings. And eventually I bought a staging franchise. And that's how the total package was born.
Did you all hear her say that first of all, I know Tania talks fast, but first of all, she said she started her business in 2008. I remember 2008 very distinctly. I remember the market taking that tank. And I remember, who would have thought starting a business on the downside of the market? But she said that was the best time for her to start it. And she started in the real estate business. Okay, I did not miss that. And she said that she started her business with a little bit of inventory, not a lot, a little bit of inventory. She said that she helped her first client to sell her home, and it sold. Did I hear you say within 12 days of listing? Is that what you said?
That's right.
You said within 12 days of listing in a downturn market. And did I hear you say it sold within 98%?
List to sale price ratio. Yes, 98% of list price.
Did y'all in a downturn market?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I cannot wait let's keep going. Talk about when someone wants to sell their home and they have decided that they're going to retain their agent. What are some of the things that they need to do prior to all of that?
First thing, when you get ready to sell your home, you want to walk through the home and you want to get rid of things that you don't need to show in the home. The way we live and the way we sell are two different things. And I always tell my clients that the way you live and the way that you sell, different. Doesn't matter about what I think or, as far as what I like or what you like. You have to start with decluttering. You have to move things out or put them away that really take away from the feel of that home, right? And you want to minimize, when we're living, we have all kind of stuff on the countertop in the kitchen, right? But when you're showing a property, you want to show the counter space. And so what do? You want to take off all the little things. You want to leave, bigger pieces. It's the same thing in your bookshelves. A lot of times our bookshelves are cluttered with a lot of stuff, right? But when you're getting ready to list that property, you want to show that shelf space. So we style those shelves and make them beautiful. So decluttering and minimizing what you've got out is really crucial to begin that process.
That is really good information to have. When I think about decluttering, the first image that goes in my mind, obviously, is getting rid of things that no longer serve me. Mm-hmm. But it also enters my mind of cleaning, dusting, maybe thinking about bringing someone in to do mm-hmm. that. How important does that play into the decluttering and minimizing?
It's very important. You got to move the stuff out before you can start the real cleaning. So we want to minimize and declutter first, and then call someone in to kind of fine tune. A clean house is really important. I know that this market is is nuts, and people are putting stuff up all kind of way, and they're selling, right? But when you actually go through the process of preparing that home for sale, you're going to sell it for even more. So it behooves the seller to actually do a little bit of work to get that property ready to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When one thinks of decluttering, minimizing, and it's on the market and you're living in it, share with the audience what's a way to still maintain so you don't feel like you're working yourself and you have kids in the home as well.
Yeah.
How do you maintain that as the agent is still listing it, showing it daily?
It's a great question. So when I sold my house in California, when we moved here, I had a, let's see here, a 12-month-old and a 7-year-old. And so we were showing that property. Now, you can establish a routine. So let's say that in the kitchen, you've got certain things on the counter. I always tell people, get a few baskets. And before you leave the house in the morning, you're going to work, put that stuff in those baskets, put it underneath the sink, right, in the cabinet. If you're in the bathroom, right, you've got towels after you shower and your bath mats, pull that stuff up, hang it in a closet in the master bedroom, move it away. People don't want to step on your bath mats. I always say, pull those mats, show the beautiful tile. So there's certain little things that you can do, the things that you live with, the things that you've got your toaster on the countertop, and your coffee, and your knives, and your salt and pepper. Take some of that stuff off of there when you're getting ready to show that property. So it's just a matter of really fine tuning what you do in the mornings before you leave for work, and just making sure, make a once over of that house, and making sure that everything is kind of in place and that it shows the best that it can. I drive my husband crazy with that, but I do that anyway.
I want to ask you this because I have seen this on Love It or List It.
Mm-hmm.
Do people, when they are looking at homes, do they look inside closets for
They
real?
do. They do.
So that's not a place where you can put all of this.
Sure you can, but you can do it neatly. I mean, you can hang towels on hangers, and you can roll them up and put them, you just, for a closet, you want to make sure that people can see the floor, right? I walk into a lot of closets where there's more clothes on the floor than they're hanging on the hangers. So I'm not saying it has to be pristine. You just have to be able to walk into that closet and see the space, because if you have it completely cluttered, linen closets included, people think, well, I don't have enough storage space in here. There can't be enough storage space. And so I have had homes where I've gone in and set their linen closet up because the homeowner didn't know how to do it. Everything should be folded the same way. You want it to look really good. So
I think we lost our guest. This was so good. Hopefully she'll be able to come back. Okay, here she comes. Not sure what happened. Cut you off mid-sentence because it was getting too good. But as you were saying.
So yeah, making sure that they can see the space in the closet is important. So, you want to pick things up off the floor. In linen closets, you want to fold your items up and you want to, present them as nicely as you can.
And that's a comment that's coming in from one of our viewers on Facebook that says the process of staging helps with the process of letting go of the property, even if selling is a good thing. Relying on the stager to give advice is helpful. Thank you so much. And that is so true. Lastly, for pet owners in the process of decluttering and minimizing, how important is that?
Very important. So that's always a challenge for my clients who have pets. And sometimes, with larger pets, you might have some pet odor. And, when you live in your house, you don't smell what your house smells like, right? You're in tune to it. So it's really my job as the real estate agent and stager to point that out. There's all kinds of things you can do to minimize those smells. Sometimes we set up showings to be at certain times. So the pets are out. Maybe they're at pet daycare or what have you. You have an hour to get out of the house, go get your dogs, walk them outside, whatever that is. But certainly, and then people with cats, and you don't want to leave pet paraphernalia all around, because someone walking through the house may not like pets. I love pets, but someone else might not. So you want to take that stuff and move it away. Shouldn't be front and center.
Advice. I hope you all are all taking notes of this information, because it is actually great. Here's a good question that's come up from Facebook. How long should we expect the buyer's market to last? Also, what effect will the Federal Reserve's impending rate increase have on the real estate market? That's a really
good question. Great question. So the buyer's market, what we're seeing in the Raleigh-Durham area, and remember, real estate's local, but what we see in the Raleigh-Durham area is this is real appreciation. It is not 2008 all over again. This market is not going to crash, and the reason is because we don't have enough inventory. Right? In this market, we've had so many people come into this market. You have your Googles, your Yahoo, Amazon. You've got Apple. We've got so many people coming in. Raleigh-Durham's like a little secret. The homes have been very affordable for a long time. And so people are coming from all over. We have investors that are just flooding our market. So we expect, to answer the question, this market to level out, but I don't see it crashing. I think the home prices are going to be this way. I think that our secret has been discovered. I believe that Atlanta, some of the same things are going on in Atlanta currently. But I'm not in that market, so I'm not as well versed there. The other question was about the interest rates. Yes, interest rates are going up, but we're still at historical lows. Remember, when I bought my first house, I think the interest rate was like 8.5%, 9%. I didn't think anything of that. People still buy houses when the interest rate is high. We keep fussing about, the interest rate's no longer 2.5, it's no longer 3. It's still low, y'all. It's low, y'all, as you say in Atlanta.
Yes, exactly. With the lingo, yeah.
It's still historically low, and it's still a great time to buy. If you can get in. It's tough right now, especially for first-time home buyers.
Exactly. And here's another question. Do you have to have cash to be competitive?
Well, you're more competitive with some cash behind you. And there's all kinds of different things that we're doing for buyers. A lot of times your first-time home buyers don't have cash, right? They're starting out. No. So how do we structure that deal to make sure that they can, get in? And it's hard if you're competing with an investor. We try making offers off market. We look for other things that are, for sale by owners, things that are not going to, that people are not tuning into. I have gotten used to, I have now called people who may be in their home, maybe wanting to sell but haven't been approached, or maybe I look at how long they've been in the house, maybe they need to downsize. We're trying all different kinds of things to get that inventory and get it out so that we can get buyers and homes. So it just takes a little thinking outside of the box.
Excellent. Thank y'all for these questions. I want to move on. Recently, I'm not in the market to sell, but I definitely wanted to take advantage of those low interest rates that you mentioned. And so I just did a refi. And I went through the whole process of doing the decluttering and minimizing, but it also went through my mind. The California case went through my mind. And because I've been in my home long enough to where I needed to have what you call the person that comes in and does gives an assessment. Is that right?
Staging consult?
Yes. And so
you're talking about an appraiser.
Appraisal, yes. And so I said, you know what? I don't want what happened in California to happen to me.
Yeah.
And I looked around and I said, because this house is definitely a reflection of me and what I look like.
As it should be.
But that is not going to work well for this appraisal.
Yeah.
Talk about depersonalization and neutralization when it comes to selling and refinancing.
Yeah. So whenever you're selling a house, remember, from the selling standpoint, when you put a house up, you put it on the market for everyone to see. And so we always say you want to cast a wide net and catch as many fish as you can. And the way to do that is to neutralize and depersonalize. If you've got all your stuff and your personality in the house, it's harder for a buyer to see themselves in that space. So from that standpoint, we talk about depersonalizing the space. From the appraisal standpoint, an appraisal is subjective. This is a person walking in. that is going to determine what that value is based upon how they feel about it or what they see. And so we all are subjective when we walk through, right? When we walk through a house. And so what you want to make sure is that you are not contributing to that appraiser, you know, making that value or considering that value, giving you a lower value on that property because of what you have or that it is so personalized. So I would always recommend that to my sellers, depersonalize, take down your personal pictures, right? As African Americans, I take down my African American art. Now, depending upon where you are, if you're in a city that, when I was in Los Angeles and I lived in a neighborhood that was primarily African American, I didn't feel like I needed to take my art down. But you got to know who your audience is. And a lot of people balk at that. They go, well, why do I have to take my stuff down? Well, on the other side, I tell people, look, you may have someone that's either Christian or not buying your home. Let's say that, you have certain items up that suggest you're of one religion or another. I ask them to take that down. Again, all of that should be neutralized. It just makes it easier for that buyer to see themselves in your home.
Right. And for those who may not be familiar, when I referenced the California case, it referenced the couple who got a lower appraised home because of their ethnicity than people who did not look like them. And that's what went through my mind when I was getting my appraisal done, that would, the same thing would happen to me. And I can hear those of you who may not look like me that may be viewing this or may view this after it's played live, and you might think, oh, well, that shouldn't happen and that's not right. And you're absolutely right. It's not right, but it is real and it does happen. And are there laws that exist that say that it's illegal?
Sure, absolutely.
However, it still does happen and it still does exist. And so for those that look like me, those are things that we do have to think about first and foremost. And so that I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned what I was referring to. And just in terms of staging, you have mentioned quite a bit about staging. And before we end up, I just want to let you talk a little bit more about staging and the importance of having a stager.
It is really important. So the Raleigh Regional, actually the National Association of Realtors actually just did a study on staging and the effect that it has on buyers and sellers. And in 82% of the time, buyers agents said that buyers found it easier to visualize themselves in a property if it were staged. It was something like 42% of people said they were more willing to walk through a property after viewing it online when it was staged. And so I would always tell you that a staged home sells better than, sells for more money than one that is not. An empty home, and we stage empty homes. We have a warehouse full of furniture. We have our own inventory. When we stage an empty home, it's going to sell for more. What happens when someone walks into an empty home? Well, they're looking at walls and floors and ceiling, right? They're looking for all of the faults with that property. When you put furniture in and you grab someone at the heart and they walk in and within 5 to 7 seconds decide, yeah, this is the lifestyle I want. That's the staging. That's the way that house presents. And so you will always make more money by making sure that house looks the best that it can. And I would always encourage you to stage. Even in this market, we stage our properties. People say, oh, you don't need to stage it. We still stage every single listing that we list. First of all, I have a reputation. I want the houses that I list to look a certain way. People expect that of me. I've been in this industry 14 years. But I also have other agents that call me. I had 2 calls this week saying, hey, we want you to go ahead and stage this house. They understand what it means to stage and why that's important. So I would always encourage someone, and sometimes you can stage with your own stuff, right? It's a little harder. If you have outdated things, I always say, if you got an old couch, buy brand new pillows to throw on that couch. There are ways to make it appear nicer than it does, and you don't have to spend a ton of money.
That's great. That is excellent advice, because that was going to be a question I was going to ask you, and you beat me to it. Excellent. A question came up that had to do with appraisals, and I want to go back to it. Can you challenge an appraisal?
Absolutely, you can. I've done my share. um,
Great.
so you gotta look at the comps, and if you have a great agent, they're gonna run those comps. And again, a lot of times the appraiser does not want to change it because they don't want to affect that relationship with that bank or that lender. But if you can actually find where they might have left a comparable out, or they used one that was too far away, or then you can challenge it. Now, most appraisers are going to do a great job, right? They're going to do a great job. We do have issues where it's not, where it may affect that value. So we're always looking at that appraisal to make sure that that appraiser looked at the things that we're looking at. It's hard because as a realtor, what do? We look at the future, right? What's coming? What's going on with the market? Hey, but the appraiser looks at what happened in the past.
Right.
Right? So that value is going to be a little different from those perspectives. It's perspective.
Absolutely. This has been, I hope you all that are viewing have gotten a lot from this, because I know I've learned quite a bit. Learned a lot about staging. It sounds fun, number one, but when I do get to the point where I am thinking of selling my home, I definitely will have staging done, because it is definitely worth that investment. Now, I always do a call to action before we wrap up, and that's for my viewing and watching audience. And that call to action involves how you all can get in touch with Tania. Now, you might be saying, well, she's in a whole nother state. How can she help me? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because if one thing COVID has taught us, is it has taught us that it does not matter where anyone is in the entire world. We can reach them and they can help us. Doesn't matter where you live, she can help you. The first thing is follow her and subscribe to her YouTube. This is her YouTube right here. You're going to be able to see her work. The next thing is visit her website. It is thetotalpackagenc.com. You'll be able to go on there. You can also email her at Tania@thetotalpackagenc.com. Follow her Facebook at The Total Package, TTL. She's also on Instagram. Make sure you're following her on Instagram at The Total Package NC. And you can reach out to her. This is her number, 919-740-2451. All of this information is going to be in the show notes, and you will be able to reach out to her. Again, always remember that you can reach out to her, and she can stage your home virtually. You can take her through a virtual tour of your home, and she can help you stage your home from where you are and from where she is. Tania, thank you again so much for appearing on Conversations with Coach. I have a final thought that I always ask all of my guests that appear, and it revolves around mindset, because I am the mindset coach. What would be the one mindset thought that you would like to share with the audience as it relates to staging your home to sell?
Well, I think I said it earlier, and that the mindset would be the way we live is different than the way that we sell. And if you can keep that in mind and take the personal out and don't be offended by what someone might tell you as far as getting your home sold, it's a business transaction. And so you're going to take the personal out and sell it. And it's going to be over soon. So it's okay. It'll be over soon. That's what I would say, that go into it with a positive attitude. And this market is crazy and you're going to reap the benefit. Um, just do what your agent says and you're going to be okay.
Absolutely. Thank you again so much for sharing your knowledge, your information, your insight with my audience. And I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Great to see you.
All right. I'm going to close out and be right back with you.
Good night.
There you have it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this tonight. As I told you from the very beginning, it was going to be a great show. And you don't want to miss next week. Next week, I hope all of you have been following my Instagram, and I have given you all a little sneak peek preview of my guest next week. This past December, there was an illustration of a medical illustration of an African American pregnant mom with her unborn child on the inside. And it went viral. And it just goes to show you how we are so accepting. That was the first time that any of us had ever thought about, much less seen that type of an illustration. Well, Chitterbray eBay is going to be my special guest next week. I am super excited to talk to him. Please share that. He is from Nigeria and he is going to talk with us about what inspired him to do it. He just got his illustration published and we are going to be able to just go inside his mind. And CNN has had him on interviewing him. He's just been interviewed by Forbes, and he is going to be here with us on Conversation with Coach. And I'm super excited. If you're not already following me, follow me on all of my platforms, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Christina Mindset Coach. If you are following me, share it with your friends. I am trying to grow my YouTube. I am trying to get to 100 and above that. So continue to share it. My website is christinacc.com. And I appreciate you all so much for being so faithful and continuing to help me to grow. And I look forward to seeing you next week on Conversations with Coach. Thank you, everyone, and have a great, great evening. Good night.